Okay. What's up, y'all? Where am I at in this as far as how far back do I need to step before I fall in the water to be in frame pretty well? Oh man, and I move around too, you know, where I do. What's up? Today's the 14th of, we're gonna leave it right here. We're gonna do it just like this. I can't see myself in the monitor because I've got it covered in the way that I do. The 14th of December 2025 is today's date. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. In the Image Clothing Company, blunt, bold, raw, and real. Here we are down at Utah Lake in Utah County. Okay, we live up Utah as In the Image Clothing Company. This is a video on our main side, one of our fourths. There are 4 sides to In the Image Clothing Company, and here on In the Image Clothing Company's main side, we allow the body to work. Okay, we talk about everything: sitting, standing, walking, eating, breathing, sleeping, hydration, everything we do. But we're doing all these things through clothing. The goal is natural on all 4 sides of In the Image Clothing Company. And so we do these things naturally, right? We live in an unnatural, modern, man-made world placed onto God's natural earth. Shout out to the lake. This is not the lake. What you can see here, as far as the sizing, this is just like a little pond right next to the lake. The Utah Lake's a big lake. And, you know, after we get done discussing this, I'll probably walk over with the camera and show the lake. It goes way over there, okay? But this video's title is The Importance of Uniform Clothing. Now, let me give a little explanation on what I mean by that, okay? We allow the body to work, and really what that means is, well, there truly is only one way the human body could ever work. It's just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space, and it's just got the functions it does. There's a center line: the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw, stabilizing the entire body, has to stay in the center of it, okay? So we have to keep our bodies centered. Clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, where we discuss clothing sits for everyone, and be made in all the ways that we can from 100% natural materials, because clothing is the only thing physically placed on us. And so we can focus on our bodies all we want, and, you know, things in our lives and doing things naturally, but we're doing all of this within clothing. Unnatural materials, unnatural things in food, right? We talk about a lot of these things, and this stuff didn't exist. These things didn't exist just decades ago from today's date. And you know, stretch often comes with these unnatural materials and clothing, but the human body only pulls. That's a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here, but it's also just the truth. The human body only pulls. Muscles connect to bones through tendons, and then they just pull together with 2 endpoints, getting closer. Even in what seems like a push, it's just a pull of muscles on the backside of a function, extending a hinge joint, okay? So we allow clothing to allow the body to work. 100% natural materials is really important, okay? We won't have stretch, almost certainly, at that point, which is great because the body doesn't stretch. So don't stretch your body. There's 2 sides to a function. There's opposing muscles, okay? We can't stretch the body and be pulling on it when it goes the opposite way, okay? So stretch in clothing, it's new, it's damaging to the body, but the materials themselves that bring stretch a lot of the time seep into the body. Unnatural materials, polyester, poly blends, right? And then similar things like this, there's many unnatural materials, they seep into the body, okay? Like a topical cream we place on the skin and it goes into the body to heal it from the inside out. That's what the clothing will do, but it won't be healing the body from the inside out. It'll be damaging us from the inside out if we place unnatural materials onto our skin. The skin is all over the body. The same skin on any of the body is the same skin on all of the body. The human body can only ever work activated as a whole. It's all there. It's all got its own individual role to play, and no compensation can be made up for something not doing its role because everything's got a different function, okay? Here's a lot of information for you. And that's what we do. We give a lot of information, a lot of free information. We do things under the gift, as I say. It's a gift, right? The gift of video. and always will. That's a huge part of what In The Image Clothing Company always has been and always will be, is the gift of video. What happened here? The screen, it looks different. Oh my heavens. It tells me there's 20% battery left. Now, if that is actually the truth, then we might not have all that much time, battery percentage wise, which, you know, it is what it is, and we'll get through this for sure to the degree that we need to. But we're out here, as I say, blunt, bold, raw, and real. That's part of what I mean, you know, is things like battery percentage. So we'll see where we get to within this. We'll get what we need to get in this, that's for sure. Okay. The body's just got to work all together. We've got feet at the base, gripping arches inward, opposing the center line and keeping us vertical on Earth. So much of what we do is just dealing with gravity as a human being, okay? Keeping our bodies over Earth's gravity. Your center line, these are 2 videos under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, although that's actually titled Your Center of Gravity, not Your Center Line. I filmed that yesterday in beautiful Spanish Fork Canyon, Utah here. Okay, and we just have to keep our bodies functioning. The musculature connects from the outside of the shoulder in to the center, in the front, to the sternum here. And it does that on both sides, evenly opposing. That's how we are vertical. That's how the spine and the sternum stay in the center, is because we're contracting evenly from both sides of it, okay? And on the rear, yeah, we've got the spine. Muscles connecting from the outside of the shoulder into the spine evenly on both sides, contracting. The human body only pulls, okay? That's all muscles do. The only opposite end of muscles working or pulling is just them relaxing so that the opposing muscle can then work, okay? So don't stretch your body. But you don't know what you don't know. You can't be held accountable for what you don't know. We've got a lot of things nowadays that is basically like, how could you know? So many imbalances in clothing design. When we place clothing on our bodies, those imbalances go straight to our bodies. Really what we do is get out of chronic patterning and scar tissue that gets built up in the body. Here on In The Image Clothing Company's main side, that's really what it means to allow the body to work, in addition to the other ways we allow the body to work. Because imbalances in clothing, oversized clothing, ropes introduced to the body, shoelaces, drawstrings, things around the waist, ribbons around a dress, apron knots, you tie a sweater around your waist, anything like this, anything around the hood of a top, wherever it is on your body. Scarves, ascots, what do we want to mention? Anything you could tie with a knot, putting one side over the other, you're just twisting your entire body, okay? We live in this right-handed world, and we get into a right-handed patterning. The rotations of our bodies that are even, they have to be, there's a neutral, okay? Neutral in the forearms to internal rotation and external rotation. Neutral in the entire arms to internal rotation and external rotation. Neutral in the lower legs to internal rotation and external rotation. Straight forward from that pinky toe with our different length toes, okay? We roll evenly off the ends of our different length toes. The pinky toe points straight forward. Neutral in the entire legs rotations from internal to external rotation. That pinky toe, just like the pinky finger of the hand. Okay, neutral, straightforward. The thumbs are really straightforward, but the pinky finger's straight out from the outside of the forearm, okay? So, there really is only one way the human body could ever work. It really is truly, physically, mechanically, actually impossible. No claim, no new information, but to train the human body to get it to do anything, it's impossible. There's a neutral. There's a neutral center to the body. There's a neutral to all the functioning. There's 2 sides to it. There's opposition in all things. And there's just a neutral to your center of gravity. It's legitimately not something you could ever possibly do. To train your body to get it to do something. That's why we keep trying to do it. If we're trying to do it, it doesn't work. You're just trying to keep up with something you'll never get to. All right? We have to just allow our bodies to work. If they never had clothing placed on them, and we weren't placed in this modern man-made world with chair heights and things like this deactivating our musculature, right? We're sitting on our hamstrings in chair heights, the big muscle on the rear of the upper leg. We have sit bones. We sit on the ischiums or sit bones, which is the bottom of our pelvis or hip structure, on the ground or very, very low. So the musculature of the upper leg isn't being placed on something. We can't deactivate the musculature of the body. We have to have the body just working, because it just either works or it doesn't, okay? No compensation can be had when everything has to go everywhere any of it does. The whole body, okay? It is what it is. And what it is really is uniform clothing, okay? That's what this video is titled, The Importance of Uniform Clothing, okay? What I mean by uniform clothing is, well, it's like the word uniform. When you wear a uniform, you're wearing the same thing every day. You know, you have something you're doing in life that you have a uniform for, meaning it's a specific clothing item, and probably multiple items, maybe pants and a top, maybe even shoes as well, maybe just the top. And it's your uniform for what you're doing. And why it's called that is the word uniform, and the way that I'm using the word uniform in this video to explain what I'm saying here under In the Image Clothing Company is having clothing be uniform or the same always, as close as we can get. In this way, we can wear different designs of clothing. We can wear clothing that's different colors and different ways of being, okay? You can wear a t-shirt, then you can wear a button-up, you can wear a coat and a sweater, a cardigan, you can wear a dress, you can wear a skirt, you can wear whatever you are, if you're a man or a woman, right? The things that we wear. You can wear different shoe designs, and you can wear different pant designs, shorts or long pants. And you can wear all sorts of different clothing as long as it's allowing your body to work. We're just placing something on our bodies, and so it has to just fit and sit in the location of the body's motion. There's only one way the human body could mechanically operate. We've just got bones connecting to bones through ligaments, with a thin layer of cartilage between them to cushion the joint, and then muscles connect to those bones through tendons to operate the skeletal system, okay? The human body is about its skeletal system positioning. The only reason we need muscles is to move the skeletal system. If we didn't have a skeletal frame to move, we wouldn't need any muscles to do that. Okay. The body's about a positioning. So we need it to be uniformly in its neutrals, okay? Like the shoulders, the natural scapula position, as we discussed under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here. That's a video title. The shoulders and everything in the body, they have a neutral, okay? There's a neutral through the whole body, keeping elbows at the natural waist, right? We discuss. Okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. And if our clothing isn't sitting on us uniform or uniformly, meaning the same fit all the time, even I say, you know, catch the phrasing on In the Image Clothing Company podcast. When we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things, that's what we do there. One of our fourths is In the Image Clothing Company podcast. We're on episode 192 as of last night. We discuss God, Jesus Christ, as he says that he is. We don't do it perfect. And you don't have to be religious or believe in anything, but we're all human beings. We're the same thing, placed on the same earth. We're all designed by one God. So we just discuss him as he says that he is. And so we're, you know, trying to figure that out as human beings, and we just go through life like, what is life? Well, there's answers to it. Okay? That none of us could decide. Truth is truth. It's apart from all of us. Like the fact that there's only one way that this human body can ever work. We're designed in the image of God. Okay, In the Image Clothing Company, Jesus Christ designed our bodies. No opinion. Don't believe me. Don't believe In the Image Clothing Company. We're saying what we're saying. If it lines up, it lines up. There you go. Okay. Yikes. Here's the point. Uniform. Okay. Uniformly. Catch the phrasing. Outfits. We wear outfits to go out in things that fit. Truly, where's the word is? Where's it coming from? What does it mean? You know, people talk about their fit. Sometimes they just abbreviate it. Clothing has to fit. Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, says all the time, okay? The founder, but I am in this for life, okay? As the leader of this, because this is the point. Clothing has to fit, but it has to fit uniformly, meaning it always has to fit as close as we can get it to being the same fit, no matter what we're wearing. You can wear different designs, like I'm saying, but they have to fit on the angles of your body's functioning and just allow your body to work. The feet are gripping arches. The pelvis has a neutral from posterior to anterior in its rotations on Earth's gravity. The shoulders have only one location they can sit in, top to bottom, front to back, rotation-wise, internal versus external. We're pivoting on this collarbone that comes from the sternum out and becomes the peak of the shoulder. That is our shoulder. So is the scapula, the big bone on the upper back. That is the shoulder. Those two bones meet the upper arm bone, which is the humerus, and there's your shoulder capsule. So uniformly fitting clothing means we have to have our clothing in all aspects of life, when it comes to the tops as one of the things, being as close as we can get to the very edge of our shoulders with the edge seams, always. If you're wearing clothing some days or sometimes, maybe to sleep rather than in the daytime, or whatever it is, and it's coming over the edge of your shoulders, an inch, 2 inches, 3 inches off the edges of your shoulders, well, your shoulder's neutral height still always remains. We're just pivoting on that collarbone. And so in an oversized top, now the collarbone's angle is going to be just dropped farther down than its neutral height, where it pivots here on the sternum, okay? And so if we've got sometimes in our lives where we're wearing oversized tops and the collarbone and the whole shoulder functioning, the scapula is dropped lower with the collarbone, the upper trapezius that raises the shoulder is elongated excessively, the pectoral muscles are tightened excessively, and our body's rotations from the shoulder are altered just because the shoulders are at the low end of their neutral and they go up from there. Then your body tries to do all that it can to get used to being in that position of an oversized top. And then maybe the next day or another day or whenever it is, that's not that instant, you're wearing something that actually fits you nice and snug, nice and well. What happens, what I mean by your body tries to get used to working within the oversized top, is the body builds up patterning to work around half of its functioning being gone. Neutral height shoulders means they can go up and they can go down. Watch my wrists. Up with the shoulders, neutral, and down with the shoulders. Back to neutral. The body's working all together, so if our clothing isn't uniformly fitting, meaning every time we wear a top, if it's not just about exactly the same size at the edges of our shoulders, then our collarbones can sometimes be only being used in their lower end from their neutral, okay? Meaning the entire shoulder, but that's what the shoulder really is determined by, is this pivoting of the collarbone here, from the center of the body in the front at the sternum, up and out to the peak of the shoulder, where our shoulder seams sit evenly behind, okay? Shoulder seams sit evenly behind the peak of the shoulders, because our shoulders just only ever work behind our head. That's how our thumbs are neutral. That's how our shoulders just go up and down, tracking in line with the musculature just pulling. The only thing it does, and just two endpoints together, really multiple endpoints at that upper trapezius, but that's behind our head. And then the edge seams just need to be, like I'm saying in this video, for the uniformness of it. Well, and the location of the shoulder top seams can be discrepant or different as well. That's why we emphasize they need to sit evenly behind the peak of the shoulders. And if they're not uniformly sitting in the same location, then we've got the body sometimes working imbalanced like this, more externally rotated on the right, and internally rotated on the left. If our shoulder seams are falling with the right side in front of the shoulder and the left side behind the shoulder, okay? Or vice versa, more externally rotated on the left side of the body and more internally rotated on the right side of the body if our shoulder seams are sitting farther in the front on the left and then farther in the back on the rear, on the right, on top of our shoulders, but not evenly. So, evenly behind the peak of the shoulders with the top seams, evenly as close as we can get to the edges of our shoulders, just where the functionality of the joint is for those edge seams of the tops, okay? Because this is the whole thing. If we build up patterning in our bodies, scar tissue and musculature just excessively adhering to bones, building up bone spurs, and excess bone mass gets built up on parts of the body because our bodies are just trying to do all they can to work around clothing. When sometimes it might be fitting pretty well, and sometimes it's definitely not. If our clothing isn't uniformly fitting, our bodies never have a normal. They just feel like things are different all the time because things are physically different all the time. If the things we place on our bodies to clothe them are physically different sizes and our bodies within that trying to just operate, and there's only one location the motion of the joints is in this mechanical machine, it's a machine of motion. We're just placing something on top of a motion operation. And it just needs to be uniformly in the correct location in every instance that we can possibly have it be when we're placing things onto the body to clothe the human body with anything. Glasses, jewelry, rings, our jewelry, whatever it is. Clothing. The human body is clothing the body. Okay, this is in the Image Clothing Company. This is really what we do here on our main side. One of our fourths. So, pants, we've got waistlines of pants. And if your pants aren't sitting in the correct location, above the hips at what's called our natural waist, where we actually bend side to side at the spine, above those hip bones, but below the lowest ribs, and then slightly higher in the front, just to ensure that our pants never drop lower in the front, because we do things in front of us, and our pelvis has to be neutral on Earth's gravity. So as we reach forward or step forward or bend forward, if our pelvis goes down, that's okay for the body to have its normal anterior motion. But if the pant waistline falls in the front, then our body can't have its normal posterior motion, which is the other end, tucking the pelvis underneath us, okay? The other end from anterior, which is the pelvis falling down in the front, and we lose a lot of our rotation. Our body just gets stuck in external rotation, which is only half of its functioning. The core deactivates, and the musculature's activation changes within the body, okay? If our pant waistline is not sitting uniformly at the same angle as we go through our lives. So that's why we focus on it the way we do. Pants sit slightly higher in the front and up at the natural waist above the hips, okay? But if you've got pants that some days are just falling lower in the front, they've got a heavy buckle on a belt in the front, or just design where the angle is just not allowing your pelvis to have its normal rotations, because there's a neutral. From there, we tuck the pelvis more posterior, or the pelvis can essentially fall more anterior. But there is a neutral. There's Earth's gravity. There's your center of gravity that always remains. Okay, that's left to right, that's front to back, and that's in all aspects of the human being. There's only one way the human body could ever work. The only end of doing anything for the body is allowing it to work. It's impossible to train to a neutral. You hang your arms down at your sides, and your fingertips are your shoulders. And there's a neutral. Ow! I just stabbed my fingernail into this stick that was sticking up right under the bed of my fingernail. But there's a neutral to just how gravity will hang your arms down, and you'll never train to it. Because that, if you just raise your arms up, is the neutral wrist. That is the neutral scapula position, which is the shoulders, right? Or the neutral collarbone position as well, which is the shoulders. It's impossible to train the body. No opinion and no new information. It's nothing to do with the Image Clothing Company. This is God's design of the human being, the same since the first man, Adam. This is the truth. No claim, okay? We've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos as of today's date, just thoroughly discussing all of this where, there's no possible opinion to have. And I'm in this for life, okay? We always will do so much under the gift of video. We always live up Utah for the sake of its beautiful nature, okay? 1/4 of In the Image Clothing Company is In the Image Clothing Company poodles. We let dogs stay natural, the same thing as allowing the body to work here on our main side for the human beings. We give information that applies to all dogs, but we specialize in purebred standard poodles. We breed these purebred standard poodles, registering them properly, advocating for doing that and why it's important to have purebred dogs. We give good information on being a good owner of a dog, to keep less dogs in shelters and more dogs at homes. So we talk about all the same things we discuss for human beings, and our information on In the Image Clothing Company poodles actually applies to most all animals, not just all dogs, okay? Letting animals stay natural, essentially, okay? So, here in the state of Utah, we do poodle parade events. As one of the events we do under In the Image Clothing Company, it's on In the Image Clothing Company poodles, specifically. Bring your poodles, purebred of any size, or mixed poodles of any size, and we'll get to places like this. This is Utah. This is me living up Utah personally, right now, seriously, after church today. Here I am, okay? But yeah, we'll get people into nature and dogs into nature and just have a good time. Just enjoy life. Don't come for us, as In the Image Clothing Company. Come for the events, come for the experience, for the environment. We'll do things like, well, this is a good example to show this with. I won't actually show things probably here that are on the ground. Probably not, at least. But Clean the Creek specific poodle parade events, rid the rubbish, right, events under poodle parades, where we actually will be doing a lot of things for the environment, for a beautiful state of Utah. And we'll go wherever else we do in addition to Utah with events under In the Image Clothing Company. But our focus is this beautiful state. I'm Utah native as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, and there's just so much beautiful nature here. It's ridiculous. So diverse and so amazing. We're actually based in St. George, Utah, which is the very southernmost end of Utah, right next to Arizona and Nevada. So we can go down there. We can go anywhere we go with events, but Arizona and Nevada, the states, are very close to St. George, Utah, like within minutes driving, okay? So, yeah, we live up Utah. That's a big thing. I mean, such a big part of what we are as In the Image Clothing Company is, well, the dogs, specifically the purebred standard poodles for us, and nature, okay? We'll do so much that you'll see as time progresses what all this will look like, more than maybe you can understand what it's going to look like before it happens, which makes sense, okay? So, anyway, there you go. That's a lot of what we do there on In the Image Clothing Company poodles. Uniform clothing, shoelaces. We talk about how we should never have any stretch in clothing. This includes no give in shoelaces or drawstrings, right? As we discuss, that would essentially be stretch in clothing. Naturally, stuff doesn't have give, right? Like these things here, I don't know exactly what this is, but next to the lake here, there's these plants. They're not going to have stretch to them or give. And so if you were to take this and weave it into a rope, right, and use this as a shoelace or drawstring, just naturally, I mean, this is just how human beings always were until there was unnatural materials just in the past, however long it's been, like within the past 100 years, within the past few decades or tens of years, okay? Other than this most recent time that we're living in, human beings never dealt with stretch, ever. On clothing, in clothing, it couldn't have happened. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. It didn't exist. It didn't exist. It didn't exist, man. And so yeah, we deal with a lot of things nowadays we never had to, just as human beings, because it's our modern man-made world, okay? After we went through the Industrial Revolution in the 1900s, so much has changed. And life has changed for human beings across the whole earth. It'll never be the same again, but that's fine. It's been prophesied about, right? Truly, right? We discussed the gospel of Jesus Christ. It truly is the truth of all things. Don't believe me. But check out what we do, or check out the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is what we do here too as well, right? So anyway, the point is with the shoelaces, some days maybe you're wearing shoes that have come with stretchy shoelaces. And our feet, well, there is only one way the feet work. A video I filmed down in beautiful St. George, Utah. Also, the feet only work barefooted. Also, there is only one way the hands work. I filmed back to back with the video on the feet there. Because it's the truth. There's only one way. We just have bones connecting to each other and just motion that happens in the body, and it can only do what it can do. Okay? If we have stretchy shoelaces, the feet can't work. You're trying to grip and activate arches, and the top of the shoe, which is where the laces are, is half of the foot's function. We lift the foot up, which is dorsiflexion. That's the top of the shoe. And then we put the foot down and point the toes, which is plantar flexion, and that's the bottom or the sole of the shoe. We talk about the importance of zero drop shoes, meaning just flat on the bottom. That's just a term that means no dropping from heel to toe, like our feet just on the earth's surface. The only way the human body could ever work. Okay, but we've got man-made shoes. So if you've got stretchy shoelaces, as your foot grips an arch up, it's trying to predict what's happening, and the laces are stretching away from the foot. When you just lift your foot up, which is half of its function from putting it down, you're lifting up against stretchy material and you get shin splints. You don't get shin splints, but that's what we explain as what you're experiencing. It's not an actual thing. It's the body just trying to work around something it cannot. There's only one way the human body could ever work, okay? And we know how that is under In the Image Clothing Company. Don't believe me? As of me saying it right now, we've got enough video documentations posted public that I couldn't even have a claim, possibly. It's just the truth, okay? I'm in this for life. This is what we really do. It's not about fashion. It's about the functionality of the human body. I know that our company name doesn't really explain what we do all that well, at all. If you just hear In the Image Clothing Company, it's like, oh, okay. They probably deal with clothing, and yeah, we will always have good clothing and dog products, which is essentially clothing the dogs, right? Collars, leashes, harnesses, and similar things to allow the body to work and to let dogs stay natural under InTheImageClothingCompany.com. But it's just about the functionality of the bodies, okay? And clothing is just physically placed on us. Or, in other words, it is clothing the body, okay? Anyway, so the point is, if you've got laces, I understand the airplane noise, by the way. This is a beautiful video. To me, personally, I love this. Wow, that's a jet. There's a small airport in this town, and so it's very, very common to have so many airplanes flying overhead every day. But they're normally really small planes. That's a jet, and it's pretty low. Okay, like a big jet plane, a bigger one than what's normally flying overhead here. Okay, so this is the point with the stretchy shoelaces. Some days, let's say you've got shoes on that have stretchy laces, and your feet just can't predict what's happening, and they can't grip arches normally. And then other days, maybe you have shoes that have no give, which is what we need. The human body only pulls. So we need a definitive end point for our bodies to work and then hit against and just function well, okay? The shoes just kind of encapsulate the feet. That's what I mean when the feet only work barefooted. Shoes just need to be a nice covering over the feet without altering how they work at all, okay? So, let's say one day you're wearing shoes with 0 drop, okay, the term, and the sole is flat on the ground. And then another day, you're wearing shoes with heels. So your body's getting used to, well, trying to get used to working around and working against, in a sense, stretchy shoelaces one day, and then the next day you have firm shoelaces. Your body's working differently. You don't have uniform shoelaces. One day you have 0 drop shoes and your feet can just work as if you had no shoes on, as you know, the only way the feet actually work. That's a more common size for the airplanes in this town. Noisy, I get it. That's why I say it. Blunt, bold, raw, and real in the Image Clothing Company. That's why I do it, is because we are who we are. I could film these videos anywhere, but then I'm not being authentic with it. If I'm trying to go find the perfect location with all the quietness and the professional microphones, professional video quality, I'm just documenting. This is just as real as it is. This is just what we need to know as human beings. This is just an eternal video that applies to every human being to ever live, even all those that never lived before me saying this right now. This information applies to them as well. They won't be needing it now that they're dead, but it applies to them. We're all universally designed. There's only one way the human body could ever work. We understand, right? Amputations, deformities, major surgeries, birth defects, anything like this that sets your body apart quite a bit or a little bit. We're all different in some ways. But there is that universal human design. We can learn the anatomy of the human body, and it applies to everyone. Some people might just have a little bit of difference here or there. So, you're wearing shoes with 0 drop, the term, okay? The only way the feet actually work, one day. And the next day, maybe you're wearing shoes with heels. And your whole body now has to excessively bend. The ankles bend backward, the knees bend forward, the hips bend backward, the lower spine bends forward, the mid spine bends backward, and the upper spine, which is the neck, bends forward. The jaw's trying to stabilize your entire body, and all your body is being so altered, trying to work around in all the ways that it can, heels on shoes. So you have this ununiform shoe experience, and your whole body's taking a beating because of it. So the importance of uniform clothing, the importance of always having 0 drop shoes, the importance of always having no give in laces, the importance of always having the same angle of waistband of pants for the sake of the pelvis's positioning, posterior versus anterior, really neutral is the point, on Earth's gravity. Okay? The importance of having tops just sit in the correct location, to have them be uniform in the shoulders, only neutral. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Am I mocking people? Kind of. We don't know what we don't know, though, and I didn't know basically any of this until I was around 24 years old. But it's crazy. It's I have to be as bold as I have to be about it so people don't think I just have an opinion. It's nothing to do with me. This is God's design, but you could never possibly train it to get it to do anything. And the actual one and true only fix, unless you never wore clothing, is your clothing. It's the first thing. Everything else you could possibly address in life, you're addressing it within your clothing. Okay? So, the importance of uniform clothing. I think that's all I'll say within this. You know, we talk about so many things in clothing. We give so many free modifications in clothing. And then, yeah, if you'd like to purchase in the Image Clothing Company clothing or dog products, if you have a dog, and whatever other products we ever branch out into, we would only ever put out products for the sake of having them be good and having all of our knowledge and intentionality go into our designs. We really know what we're doing here, and you don't have to believe anything I say, but I've just got so much documentation, and that's one of the reasons it's such a gift. Video. The information's here. Go find it. Don't believe me. Hear what I'm saying and see if it lines up, right? That's the point. It's taking ourselves out of everything and just putting the focus and the glory on God. He's the designer of the body, and it'll work. Within our own situations, it'll work. We just have to allow it to, but we have to know how to be intentional, because there's so many things you have to modify in modern 2025 and going forth. We've got things like in the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification. Talk about uniform clothing. One day maybe you're wearing rotated clothing because clothing's just stitched with robots where they stitch it one direction, they flip the clothing around and stitch it the same direction. And now that rotates our bodies, okay? Rotated clothing and Earth's gravity is a video under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company here. Filmed here at Utah Lake too, in a different location than where I am right now. There's only one way the human body could ever work. It'll never change. Neither will this information that we give under In the Image Clothing Company if we're really discussing truth. And that's the focus, that's the goal, that's what we do. We're just not perfect, okay? But, yeah. If you have imbalances like a collar seam in only one location of the collar around the circumference of your neck that needs to stay centered, keeping collars centered, we do the same thing for dogs in the sense of keeping collars centered, okay? In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification is a must. This is what I mean, you know, uniform clothing isn't uniform clothing. You've got ununiform clothing. If one day you're wearing a collar that has an imbalance to it, pulling on your neck, when there's only one way that your body can actually evenly contract its muscles opposing the center line on Earth's center of gravity. So one day you're wearing a seam in your collar, and you've got an imbalanced collar. And then the next day you're wearing a collar that doesn't have a seam in it. Your body isn't uniform because your clothing isn't uniform or the same day after day. And your body never changes, but what it tries to do is all that it can to work around what we place on it that's so commonly just changing. People are wearing heels, like high heels. Women, you know, often wear high heels. We talk about the importance of zero drop shoes and not even having like a slight little 1/8 inch heel, 1/4 inch heel, you know, whatever that would translate into, you know, millimeters, right? Or centimeters. The point is, yeah, you don't even want the slightest bit of elevation under your feet because God designed the feet to work on the earth. It's just a mechanical machine. Compensation happens all the way up to the tip of the head and the tips of the fingers if we lift the heels of the feet off the ground, okay? And then you've got people often wearing multiple inch high heels, okay? Like up to 6 inch heels. That's ridiculous for the body's functioning. It's just very damaging, is the point. All opinions aside, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but you're damaging your body if you're damaging your body. There truly is only one way the human body could ever work. One of those phrases I can never say too much, okay? Now, if we're having things beyond uniform, we're just going to feel all over the place. We're going to feel so, you know, like life is crazy. Like we are just so unpredictable ourselves because our experience of life is unpredictable. We go around and we navigate life through our feet as much as we do through our eyes and through our hands. We go around and we're holding things in our hands, and the position of our hands is determined by our feet and our waistline of our pants and our shoulder seams and the cuffs of things, you know, the importance of short sleeves. Really, it's titled The Importance of Even Short Sleeves and Keeping Short Sleeves Short. These are videos under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company, but just allowing the body to operate, otherwise it just can't, okay? In all aspects of any part of anything that we could ever place onto the human being that would be clothing the human body. Uniform. Never anything any more different from day to day or from day into night, then we could have it be, right? Keeping everything as uniform as we can have it be is what I'm saying. In the daytime, if you're wearing different clothing than you sleep in, and it's just quite a bit different, the fit or the feel on your body from what you wore throughout the entire day to then going to sleep in something completely opposing what you wore throughout the day, your body just doesn't know what to do. It's a shock. It's got to do all that it can to try to get used to it in the best way it possibly could and work around it, when there's still only one way it could do anything. There's only one way the human body could ever work. So, the importance of uniform clothing. There you go. Ow, that kind of hurt. Sorry, plants, for pulling you anyway, I'm gonna grab this. This is Utah Lake. So this is where I was standing here. But over here behind this layer of, let me close this little thing that popped up on the screen. Behind this layer of, I don't know what they are, but those plants back there, there is a lake, a big lake. This little area right here is kind of like a little pond that's actually a few feet above the height of the lake. So let me walk out here. If this just cuts and it didn't seem like I was intending on it doing so yet, then, well, the battery of this device, it told me at least, is at 10%. So it's probably less than that now. But this is actually Utah Lake. Like the fullness of the size of it is out here, beyond that little pond area that I was at. Except, let's go over here. That's really muddy right there. This is Utah Lake. And boy, is it big. I mean, there's bigger lakes than this. We also have the Great Salt Lake here in Utah, which is bigger than this. But it's a big lake. I mean, guess it depends on who you ask, but it goes way over there, goes this way quite a ways, it goes this other ways quite a ways. This is the south end of it. So anyway, there you go. Okay, that's where I'll leave this. Today is the, as I said, 14th, wow, of December 2025. My name is Evan Strong. I am in this for life, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Check out what we do. Don't do it for us, right? Don't come to events for us, for example, our in-person events. But what we do applies to you. You don't have to care. Like I say, you don't have to care about clothing or fashion. It is affecting you if it's not allowing your body to work. Thank you.